Hey, everybody, welcome to a very special episode. It's not just what drives us, it's also the Tesla life. Say hi, Tesla life guy.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Russell Frost, one half of the hosting team here. The other co-host is Mr. Mark Coughlin from the Tesla life.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? And this is kind of a special feature for us. We're kind of splitting the show up and sharing it amongst both what drives us and the Tesla life. So our first kick at the can at this.
Like two cats splitting a gopher. Oh, wait. No, that's kind of an ugly early morning reference,
That's
isn't
messy.
it?
That's messy.
Bad?
Really
I'm
messy.
sorry, Georgia. And after that, I have to introduce one of our regular panelists on What Drives Us, a writer, a director, and an all-around amazing person, Miss Georgia McKenzie. Blah, 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 blah.
Mr. Who can tell these days? These children with the ways they use the pronouns. I have no idea what they're all talking about. I'm a mister now. Hey, y'all.
And of course, there's a person down, well, at least on my screen, that you may not recognize. You may recognize, but I think you'll recognize the voice as soon as you hear it. He is wow, he is a person that is amazing. He is an author of 8 books. He has been on 3 radio shows, 1 currently, 2 formerly. And I wish I had my whole introduction right in front of me, but I don't. So I'm going to just guess. He is a voice actor, a spoken word author, but most importantly, Mr. Tom Bodett is a storyteller. You, of course, may most likely know him from a 34-year-long run of speaking for Motel 6, where he himself, in fact, wrote "We'll Leave the Lights On For You," which is no small thing. To just come up with genius stuff like that off the top of your head amazes me. Anyway, he is Mr. Tom Bodett. Mr. Tom
Hey,
Bodett, welcome.
How's it going, Russell? Hi, Georgia. Hey, Mark.
Hello.
I'm having a bad morning because I already left my intro on the desktop behind this big Skype window, so I had to just stumble through what I thought was an otherwise nice introduction.
It was great. I mean, the fluff was a little disarrayed, but fluff all the same, and we love it. Thank you.
So you're wondering, okay, what drives us? The Tesla life. You already have a hint. Okay, it's obvious. Look at his background, and you will see why Tom Bodett is on the show. That was taken at your house, right?
Oh, are people seeing this background on here?
People are seeing that background.
Yes, so I didn't even do my hair this morning. I didn't even shave. I thought
nobody has in 3 months, Tom. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. Hello, world. This is me deep in my opioid period. It appears, but no. This is what's the Hollywood actors say? Oh no, it's for a part. You know, I'm playing a part. I'm actually been cast as a wino in Boston, which I got to run out to right after this phone call.
I'm writing that down so I can use that.
Yeah. So yeah, this fake background is a picture of my brand new car, my Tesla Y, and my solar array. It's a 37 kilowatt solar farm that I put in 2010. So it's 10 years old now. The year after I put that in, I put in 13 tons of ground source heat pumps in my basement of my house. They don't weigh 13 tons. That's the cooling capacity and heating capacity. Oh. And so I live in this big energy sucking house on a windblown Vermont hill, and it's completely net zero.
Wow.
We burn no fossil fuels here. In fact, we make a little more electricity than we've used. I think that will stop now that I have the electric car. But we even added a swimming pool, and we heat the swimming pool. We added the pool 6 years ago, still net zero. And so It's really cool. And the reason that I did this was I've always, I mean, this green energy has always fascinated me. And we bought, when was it? What was the year that the Toyota came out with a hybrid Highlander. I want to say it was 2004 or 5, 6,
Oh, wow.
somewhere in there. It was
Yeah.
it was one of the first hybrids they came out with. And I remember they took a lot of criticism because they took the fuel economy that they gained from the electric assist and turned it into torque. And it made it a really fun car to drive. And we got one of those, and it was a fun car to drive. And what it made me realize was that that was really brilliant, because what it did is it showed that you can have a green energy car and not sacrifice, the fun and all that. You don't have to wear Birkenstocks and eat kale to be green. You can live a big, fat, hoggy American lifestyle.
Oh,
Which we love, and still reduce your carbon footprint if you want to. So that was my project here in Vermont, which is very much a green energy oriented place. I worked with one of our former governors when he was in office. I worked on his energy committee to come up with new policies to encourage the installation of energy power, and during the Obama administration, when all of those rebates and tax credits were going on, that's when I put in my system, and the state was very involved in that as well. So my reasoning is that we've got this big house, I've got a family, and I've got a wood shop downstairs, and I've got all of this stuff, and I wanted to show that you can live this way and have a net zero house, because I thought that green energy was getting a bad was suffering some bad marketing. It was like, that's for hippies, right? Green energy is for hippies. The Prius came out, that didn't help. And, honestly, I mean, why is it that people who drive Priuses take so long to park? I mean, if they just speed that up, and even me, who was a total enthusiast and evangelical green energy guy, there's something about following a Prius that's going the speed limit that aggravates me. Whereas if it was any other car, it'd just be like, oh, well, I mean, it's got, but there's something, Priuses just always seem to be out of sync with the way the world is moving. So I was trying to overcome this single-handedly by living like a, living like a middle-aged white guy in Vermont, and still, which I am really good at. And still, I've got, I wouldn't say a zero carbon footprint, because all this stuff had to be made. But I, on a daily basis, I run on rainbows and sunbeams,
That's a beautiful thing. And now I need to tell you that all of your Prius criticisms really cut to my heart, because I've owned 3.
Yeah.
And
I'm waiting for him to come up with the compost drive for that car. It's the only.
Yeah, just what we need is to fill the back end of that car with manure or something, right?
Don't give the devil any ideas.
Well, and interestingly enough, I just finished the review of the brand new Highlander Hybrid yesterday. So,
is it a plug-in?
It is not a plug-in yet. Yeah, that was something that we were hoping for. They that'll probably be in the next couple of years. They'll announce a plug-in. The next plug-in from Toyota is going to be the RAV4 plug-in, the smaller CUV. But and then they announced 2 hybrids yesterday that are pretty exciting: the brand new Sienna hybrid and the Venza hybrid.
Oh, no kidding! I've driven a Sienna. I just sold it, as a matter of fact. That's what the new Y has replaced finally. But I put 120,000 miles on my Sienna. It's a wonderful car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, from now on, all Siennas are going to be hybrid.
That's great. I mean, that's brilliant.
All hybrid and all-wheel drive. Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. Is it as good as electrified completely? No. Is it still awesome that it's hybrid and it's all-wheel drive? Absolutely cool.
Yeah, no, it's one of those cars where it's perfect for almost everything, and as boring as it is and sort of everything else about it, it was like there was never anything better that I would replace it with. It's like driving an orthopedic shoe, but it's it's still my feet don't hurt. So there you go.
It's like I'm going to send that one to a friend of mine at Toyota. Orthopedic shoe, and because it's a perfect. I mean, it again. People called the Prius the appliance car, right? It wasn't cool looking. It didn't go fast. It turns out they're like nearly bulletproof, and they run forever, and they're dirt cheap to own and operate. So.
Exactly. And they're fun to make fun of. I mean, I totally
Sure.
admire the Prius, and I celebrate their existence and the fact that, 50, 60 miles to the gallon. It's just like, just shut up. There's nothing more to say, right?
Less pollution, less fuel. Yay. So you have this now, and I'm not familiar with the 13-ton. Now that sounds huge, but this heat pump cooling system that you installed, now 13 tons, do you live in a factory?
Do you think it looks like a nuclear submarine down there? It's tonnage. I don't ask me to explain the refrigeration process, but the way heat pumps work, they take heat out of the air or out of the ground, and they convert it to heat or cooling depending on which way the compressor runs. It works just like a refrigerator. And you know how heat comes out of the bottom of your refrigerator? That's a heat pump. So you capture the heat when you're cooling, and you run it the other way, and you capture the cool. And the heat goes back down into the source. So the way it works is we have a well. It's 1,000 feet deep, and it has an inside liner and an outside liner, and they pump up water from the inside of the well. It circulates through these 3 heat pumps. There's 2 that are 5 tons and 1 that's a 3-ton capacity. That's just how they measure its capacity. I'm not sure what it refers to, honestly. These things aren't that big. They're about the size of, I don't know. They're maybe 3 feet tall and 3 feet long, 2 feet wide. They're not huge things.
Okay.
About the size of your average boiler in somebody's basement, I would say. But there's 3 of them in a row. And so they circulate this water at a really like 35 gallons a minute through these things. And then they send it back down the well. And like in the wintertime, the water's coming up at about 45 degrees. It's going back down at about 43 degrees. So it's taken all that heat off it. So it comes up the middle of the well, goes down the outside of the well, and it just circulates like that. And as the well cools down, like in the winter, and if it reaches the point of low efficiency, it bleeds, and which means it blows about 1,000 gallons of water out through an out pipe in my field, and recharges the well. So it's not using all that water that it's circulating. It's just circulating it for days until it equalizes. Then it flushes 1,000 gallons and starts all over again. So it's a very efficient system that way. It doesn't use that water, and of course it uses 1,000 gallons, maybe every couple weeks or so. And then in the summertime, we put it into cooling mode, and everything reverses. And so it's bringing up water out of the well at about 48 degrees and sending it back down at around 50 degrees. And the coolness is being distributed then through our house with a series of air handlers and things. Wow. And it's all being driven. Now, heat pumps they use a lot of electricity. So that's why our solar field is so big. Those three big arrays there, one of them would run the house under normal conditions. The other 2 are for the heating and cooling.
Wow.
Now, so over that period where you've got that difference of about 2 or 3 degrees in the heat pump, that small difference helps heat and cool your home.
Yeah. It's this heat pump technology I can't tell it from magic, honestly. They've got, I have another one I just installed last summer for my studio and office, which was pretty far from the heat pumps in the basement. So it wasn't really efficient to cool this space in the summer with those heat pumps because there was just too much loss between the pumps in the room. So I put in an air source heat pump, a small one, out back. And those things, you've seen those. I mean, they use them all over the country. They're out in California and warmer states. They're essentially an air conditioner, but they'll also heat. And they are efficient in heating now down to like 0 degrees.
Wow.
There is still heat to be taken from 0 degrees. Because I guess all the way down to absolute zero, there's still heat to be had if you've got the technology to take it. So it's fascinating technology, and use a lot of electric. So I think it works very well with alternative electrical sources. I think in terms of carbon efficiency in general, like if you have heat pumps plugged into the grid, I think it's a little bit better, but not tons, but tons better. So if your grid is not being powered by renewables, there's a lot of debate whether heat pumps are really green at all.
Right. And with this, you've had this system now running for about 10 years?
Yes. Yeah, exactly 10 years. Well, actually 8 on the heat pumps. We waited a year. There was a lot of refitting that had to be done to the house to put in this system. First thing I did is I had an energy analysis done on the house, and they came in and re-insulated. You know, as they always say, the cheapest energy is the energy you don't have to buy at all. So we found the leaky spots and fixed up the house. It's a fairly modern house, so it wasn't too bad. And then we put in the well and the heat pumps. And say it's been running now for 8 years. I gave the engineers who put it in. My wife is not as enthusiastic about all of this, let's say, as I am. She was totally supportive of it, but she said, I don't want to have to know anything. I just want to be able to go to the wall and turn up the thermostat when I'm cold and turn it down when I'm warm. And I don't want to have to know how these batteries work and how this works and that works. And so I asked the engineers to make it that way. I says, make it so that, like, if I get run over by a tractor, I would say bus, but there are really, I mean, you could live a long life and not get run over by a bus in Vermont. Okay. If I get run over by a tractor, that my wife can just go about her life and not have to learn any of this stuff. So it's pretty control heavy. That's why when you go down in my basement, it looks like a nuclear submarine, because there's all of these systems that come into play. Like when the temperature starts to drop outside, it kicks the even before the house calls for heat, it kicks the system into play because it takes it a little longer to come into, like if you had an oil boiler on there. So it starts so it anticipates all of these changes that might take place. It's really quite brilliant. I enjoy understanding it, and when the guy comes, I'm down there in the basement with him geeking out over all the stuff, you know.
And with that 8 years, what type of maintenance is required with a system like this? Or is there things that you have to do on a seasonal basis, on a yearly basis for your system, or is it really run itself and you don't think about it?
There's not much to do. There's a few filters that have to be watched for the circulating water. You know, they fill up with sand and things like that. And those are just like a visual inspection. You see it and you just hit a valve and it flushes it out. And then, of course, the air handlers, just like in any house that has air handlers, you got to change those filters. But otherwise, no, there's nothing that is that has that gets used up. There's like no what do you call it, consumables involved. So it's like you don't have to recharge, you know, like you do a pellet boiler or anything like that. The main thing is that, you know, just like any machine with moving parts, things just crap out. You know, you lose a zone valve, or you lose, you know, one of these controls will will malfunction because an electrical storm went over. So, it's that kind of stuff, because it is a probably more complicated machine than if we just had a gas furnace in the basement. There's a little bit more of that to tend to. That's fair to say.
And with that, the picture behind you with the solar array, that looks like a fixed mount type system. Is it fixed to a certain angle, or does it move with the sun?
It is fixed. We looked at at the time I built it, the tracking technology wasn't quite there yet. They were having a lot of trouble with it. And because of the expense and the maintenance involved with those things, the payback on what you gained by, staying focused on the sun wasn't there yet. If I redid this whole thing today, I would do trackers.
Okay.
But what they do is they fix them at an optimal angle, which is not, oddly enough, where the median point of the sun, or even the longest day of the sun. It's some calculation that has to do with seasonal temperature as well, where it's actually at optimal at about the middle of April, because solar panels function best when they're cooler.
Yeah, not overheated. Yeah.
Right. And of course, when they're getting the most direct sunlight, when they're still cool, is in this area, it happens to be in the middle of April. So that's where they're set. And if you look at there's of course, the computer that records all of this data. There's like a perfect bell curve every year that shows, and it grows up through March and April, and it peaks around July because of the long days, and then goes back down to its lowest rate in December, and then starts over. So in December, we're not net zero, of course. In any given day, we're not making everything we use, but on an annual basis, we are. So this system would not work without the grid. It's a grid-tied system.
Right. So it's a net metered system where you pay credits in and you take credits out depending on the time of the year.
That's right. Right. They stopped that credit system here in Vermont a few years ago, but now they do the group net metering. So what we do is I keep an office space in downtown Brattleboro, and a neighbor of that office, we sell those two meters, our excess. So that's how we do it, because the power company just decided not to do the accounting for the whole thing anymore.
And just two questions on the solar panels. You're in Vermont. I'm in Ontario. We both get a lot of snow. What happens in the winter? Do you ever have to rake them, or do you find that the snow just naturally melts off of it as soon as the sunshine comes out?
It comes off pretty fast. The first winter, I was just OCD about the whole thing, and I was out there in snowshoes with a roof rake, pulling the snow off. And then one day I did that. I really practically died doing it. I fell in my snowshoes face first in like a 4-foot drift, and I couldn't get up. I couldn't get untangled from it. I thought, I am going to die. And then I did the calculation, had that snow stayed on there for like even 2 days, I would have saved like $3 or something. It was not worth dying for. And so what I found is that once the snow, even if there's a big pile on it and it's somehow iced onto it, as soon as it melts back enough to show even a perimeter around the thing, it heats up very quickly and it all falls off. So it doesn't stay on there very long. And
the second part of that is that those solar panels, they all have inverters behind them, or, depending on the system that you set up. What's the maintenance with that? You've had this for 10 years. Are you replacing inverters? Do you find that that's something, or components on those panels?
No, and I'm knocking on wood, because it's 10 years in, and that system has been absolutely perfect. I've got six large converters and one half converter. I forget the capacities of them, but each one of them can handle only so much. So I've got a shed that I built out there. It's also our like gardening shed where all the inverters are. None of those have had any problems at all. I've got two control boxes. They're called, oh geez, I've Alzheimer'd this whole thing. But they're the smart boxes that control the whole thing and make sure that the right amount of power is coming into the house. I have a battery backup, which is our emergency power. So if the lights go out, it switches immediately to those batteries rather than to a generator or anything. And
are those batteries like marine batteries, or what?
Yeah, they're just lead acid batteries.
Wow.
And
Many.
they last a long time because they don't cycle very much. They basically sit there with a 90% charge all the time. And they have our critical load circuits on it. So when the power goes off, like we keep our refrigerators, the heating, the furnace circulator will stay on to use up what hot water we have in reserve, a few lights, and we can go indefinitely on that battery pack because it'll go about 8 hours at full charge, and then the solar array will recharge them if there's sun available. And of course, the solar array, as soon as the power goes out, as soon as the grid goes down, it cuts off the grid from our power because they can't have you back feeding into the system. So when the grid goes down, we are an off-grid system for that period of time.
Wow.
And
that sounds like a fantastic system.
It is really great because that switch that makes it go from grid to battery is a micro switch that's so fast that we sometimes don't even notice it. Like if we're sitting in the kitchen, all those lights are on the battery backup and we're just talking or doing homework, whatever's going on, the power can go out and we won't even be aware until we wander into another room that might not be on the critical loads and try to turn a light on. So it's pretty sweet.
And of course, your house, you probably, when you said you had that assessment, you changed everything to LED. You have very efficient appliances, I would imagine, as well. Those are all things that you can save upon by not using the energy, and it's easy to collect that back as opposed to build more capacity.
Yeah, that's right. I think particularly with the heating, because the temperatures that a heat pump operated system work at are much lower than like a boiler capacity. I think boilers work at 135 and the heat pump water circulating is like 107 or something like that. So you have to be very efficient, especially if you have like radiant heat and all that, because just the loss of going through a big house is going to lose all your efficiencies if it's not really buttoned up. So all of the pipes are super insulated, and that's why it's not very dynamic. That's why it has to anticipate when the temperature drops, so that it goes to work and starts heating up the water before the house itself cools down.
Right. And this house, do you mind telling us the square foot approximately?
It's like we're heating with my wood shop, which is a real luxury to heat. We're heating about 6,000 square feet.
Wow.
And
okay.
Yeah, so yeah, and like I say, it's it's kind of an old farmhouse style that looks like any other Vermont house on a hill. We're very exposed to the elements, and we're perfectly comfortable. I mean, this is just wonderful technology, and people who come to visit, they see the house, they go, oh wow, what a gorgeous! This must cost you a fortune. What's it cost to heat this place? And I love that question. Nothing, goose eggs, right? Nothing.
So, Tom, we should talk about the other thing in the field behind you, which is the car. Now, is this your first electric vehicle?
It is. It is. I've been waiting for this car for years. When Tesla came out with what was the first one? The Model S or the
The Roadster was
the
first, and
Roadster
then the
was
Model
first.
S.
Yeah. So when they came out with the Model S, I said, when they come out with an all-wheel drive, I'm going to buy it. And then, and I gave my wife fair notice. I don't know what year are we talking there? This was like
2012.
Yeah, was that? And
Yeah.
then they came out with the Model X, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We're at a hockey tournament. My son is a hockey player. We're sitting in a motel room in Burlington when they announced the X. And Rita's on the bed looking at her laptop. I'm over on my bed looking at mine. And I go, "Oh my God, Rita, they've come out with a Tesla SUV. You know, we live 2 miles up a dirt road and we got a steep driveway. I got to have all-wheel drive." And I said, I'm ordering this thing. And I went through and I'm going through the options. I said, "Oh, look at this. They got this and the doors." And she goes, "Uh-huh." She's like, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm." And she's listening. And I order one. I put it right there. I put the deposit on my Amex card. And I'm just like, "Oh, boy, I'm getting a Tesla." And we go to dinner that night and with the boys and my wife. And I say, "I'm so excited about my new car." And she says, "What car?" I said, "My Tesla. I ordered it right in front of you." I said, "Where were you?" She says, "Oh, I just thought you were babbling like you always do." And I said, "No, I ordered it. Look at this." And I pull out my phone and I'm showing them pictures of the X and those gold wing doors and all that. And the boys and Rita are like, "No way. There's no way you're getting that car." She says, "You're not taking me to school in the Batmobiles." And I'm not getting in that car. And Rita's like, my wife is a social worker and she works as a guardian ad litem in the courts. So she's very conscious about sort of the class differences between the way we live and the way most of her clients live. And so she's like, there's no frickin' way I'm going to be seen in town in that car. I said, "What are you talking about? It doesn't really cost that much more than the Volvo you drive." She says, "Yeah, but people don't think that about Volvos. But Teslas, everybody thinks people who drive Teslas are assholes. But we're not assholes. You will be. If you drive that car, you're an asshole." And
Man.
And so anyway, it took them about 6 months. I was very stubborn, but they talked me out of it. They did. I said, "All right." I mean, it's like I lost because like there's no way I'm going to buy a car that my family won't get in, right? And
They wouldn't get into the Batmobile car. Seriously.
they would not do. And
I'm so sorry.
yeah,
But you got your why.
I did. And I wasn't thrilled about the M because I still needed a bit of a family car. I still had a hockey player. I got 2 kids, active kids in school. I need to be able to get a bike into the back and all of this stuff. The minivan was a great utility vehicle for the family. And then when they announced the Y and I looked at the specs, I was just like, okay, close enough. It's about exactly the size and interior design as my wife's Volvo 60. She drives the V60, which is perfect. She can get a bike in the back. The dog goes in there. You know, it's perfectly functional. It's not a minivan, but it'll work. So I pulled the trigger. I ordered the Y the day they announced it. And I think I was told that I'm the first one in Vermont, that I was the first Y to come in Vermont.
So
they delivered
you got
it.
the performance vehicle then?
No, I got the long
all-wheel
range.
drive.
I didn't get the performance package, but I got the long range. What's self-driving package?
Yep, the
Long-range
autopilot,
FSD.
full self-driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And
so you were the first in Vermont to get a delivery of a Y.
Yeah, and it was like right at the beginning of this lockdown, and so I couldn't get it licensed. I still can't get it licensed. And if there are any Vermont State troopers watching this, just forget the fact that the plates that should be on my minivan are on my Tesla. Um,
So not getting registered
but
hasn't stopped you from driving.
the DMV is all working from home, and I don't think they have license plates at home because for whatever reason I can't get them to send me my plates.
Oh, I don't know if you should have admitted that on a live show.
He only drives right there in that patch where you see that square of grass. That's all he drives on.
Yeah.
Always on private property.
Right. Yeah, I was totally kidding about that. I would never drive an unlicensed vehicle. Not in Vermont.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. A message to the troopers out there. Go ahead, check the plate. It won't be registered to a Sienna. That is a Tesla. So, are you happy with it?
Yes, really happy. It's, for all my sort of enthusiasms about this technology, I'm not a great tech geek, and it's not natural for me, and it's very tech. I mean, it's very geeky. The car is, but luckily I have one of my best friends is total geek, and he got his Y 2 weeks after I did, and he lives about 10 miles from here, and so I knew that Johnny would know everything there was to know about this car before he even took delivery, and that he would just tell me. And so what we did is we started meeting in empty parking lots, and he would just tell me through the windows, how all this stuff works. Because it was hilarious. The first day I got it, I get in it and I'm going through the manual and I'm trying to figure it out and I'm setting it up, getting the seats to fart and all the important things that you can do with a Tesla. And then I wanted to go in and eat lunch, and I didn't know how to turn it off. It was just like there was no off switch. There was no place where it just said off, done. And so, and I'm looking in the manual, and it doesn't even say, how to turn it off. And so I called Johnny, my buddy. I said, Johnny, this is the dumbest question I'll probably ever ask you, but how do you turn this car off? He says, you don't. You just get out and leave. And it will turn off. And it's just like, that is the coolest thing ever. That's exactly what you do. You get out of the car and you leave, and it says bye. And it just it closes down. It's like a horse, you throw the little line over the thing, and it just stands there,
Yep.
Sure, when you get back.
Wait till you get back. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A little corn in the nose bag, and it's just patiently waiting for you.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, you've had it now for a number of months, and you've just transitioned from a hybrid or less to an actual plug-in. What's the difference to you to not having to fuel this thing up to basically plugging it in? How did you find that transition?
I mean, it's like transitioning from from good to better is all. I mean, there's no sacrifice at all, because I can charge it here at home and prefer to. There is a charging station in Brattleboro, but why would I go there? I mean, this thing I can go from like a half charge to a full charge in about 6 hours here at home. So,
wow.
It's fine. And on any given day, of course, during this pandemic thing, I'm not moving around as much, but I'm probably a 100 mile a day driver. And I've got kids who've been day students at commuter schools, so I probably drive a little bit more than most in this area. But this car would totally handle it. It would do, I could do 2 days or more between charges. And New York City is a charge away from here. Boston is a round trip charge, so it's really perfect. And, when I bring it home, I back it up to my shop where I've got the power cord, and plug it in, and it goes to sleep. It says goodnight.
Yep.
And it just does it.
Everybody's frozen. Am I all alone here?
Oh, no.
No, we're good.
No, I'm sorry. We can hear you, Tom.
We can hear you.
When you're doing well. Now, my question for you is: the handling any different between the Tesla and your hybrid? How do you
If you
feel
can
driving?
hear me, I will do nothing. I'll just stand by here.
Oh no,
Uh,
Tom's
Lost
our audio.
Tom. Tom's
Yeah.
gonna have to reset, I would think.
I'm guessing so.
Yeah.
Text.
Let's see if we can go to the chat.
Oh, he just left.
Just left. Okay.
Restart.
Just add him to the call again.
Yeah. Dun dun dun.
Technology.
Yay, technology.
It's always fun.
hoping for that.
Technology's awesome.
It's probably going to. Thank you, Microsoft. Thank you, Skype.
You get water.
There you go. So he, I meant to ask him if, because I know he's a handy guy, and he said a couple times that he installed a solar array.
Okay, here we are.
Hey,
we
you're
go.
back. Sorry about that, Tom. I don't know. Well, all of a sudden you lost our audio, but we could hear you, which was sad.
Froze again.
Froze again.
Connection lost. I'll be darned.
Connection lost. So you can't hear us now.
Nothing at all.
You're going to have to call me again, Russell.
Can you boot him out of the call? And
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll let me come on. Tom.
Wait, now I hear you.
You can hear us.
Yeah, there you are.
Yay!
That could have been. I've got 2 students doing distance learning downstairs, and sometimes it jams up our Wi-Fi. My apologies.
Not at all. Not at all. We were blaming it on Skype and Microsoft. So
Yeah, but they can't handle this capacity.
exactly.
What's the matter?
4 people just chatting away on Skype. All of a sudden, the system goes down. Come on. I think Georgia had a question for you when we lost you.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did you feel any difference in the handling between the hybrid and the Tesla?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been a few years since we owned the hybrid, but the Highlander was kind of a top-heavy car anyway, I felt. So it wasn't really a fun car. It was a truck really more than a car. It was great for that. I mean, if you're going to have an SUV, I think the Highlander is a terrific one. But the Y it's a car. And honestly, I've never really owned cars. I've always been a pickup guy because I'm a woodworker, and I was a carpenter in Alaska before that. And I've always been sort of a pickup truck guy. The minivan was the first everyday car that I actually owned for any period of time, and even it's closer to a truck than a car. So this Y is just a gas because actually that's really an unfortunate.
It's kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, I like it.
Where's that stupid filter when you need it? And the when you put that thing on, standard acceleration and you get out and you punch it, right? I mean, have you all driven a Tesla? You know what I mean?
yeah, I have a Model 3. I know exactly the feeling.
Oh, I mean, you can be going 70 miles an hour. And again, to the Vermont State Troopers, this is all just abstract. One could be going 70 miles an hour and you punch it and it just like goes. I mean, it's like you're going from zero. And it's so much fun. And I've been playing around with the self-driving stuff, and I are trying to build trust. It doesn't always trust me to be paying attention. I always don't trust it that it's going to stop when I would. But we're working it out, and when it's all working together, I just say I've not had this much fun driving a vehicle in years. I was afraid when I first got it that after driving it for a few days and not really trying to push into all the things it could do, I thought, it's already just a car, right? You get in, you go to the grocery store, you come home. You know how every new car you get, you're excited about it for a couple of days, and then you realize you're just driving yourself around in your life just like you always did. And it was making me sad that the Tesla, after all my anticipation, was going to just turn into my car. But now that we're working together a little better, I'm just having a ball with it.
I'll tell you, Tom, after 2 years of ownership of the Model 3, it still puts a smile on my face every day that I go out to take it for a drive. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. I feel like I'm 16 again, and it's like you just got your license. It's just like, Mom, do you need anything from the store? You know?
Yeah.
Or you go and you make sure you forget her cigarettes, so that she makes you go back.
Exactly.
You're looking for an excuse. Oh, really? I'd be glad to go out and get dog food at 2 a.m.
Right.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm coming up with reasons to have to go places.
Yeah, there's a 24-hour dog food shop in Boston. I'll be back.
And I would like to remind Vermont State Troopers that this is all metaphorical.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That phone ringing was the attorney saying, you might want to put a disclaimer on that. So,
Right.
just saying.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, a show like this probably has pretty heavy listenership in a state like Vermont. So, yeah, I'm pretty screwed. But any day those plates are going to come.
He's just going around the yard, folks.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
around the yard.
It just so happens that I-90 goes through my yard.
Yeah.
It's a big yard.
Yeah.
What could be wrong with that? You're not driving the Sienna, so you might as well drive the Y.
Right.
Right.
Right. And
Metaphorically, let's not get the man into trouble here.
No.
It's also kept my teenage driver out of the Tesla, because I said, listen, you've only had your license for a year. You don't want to get pulled over in this without having a proper registration. That's going to go on your record, not mine. And so I've been using it to fend off teenagers successfully for 6 weeks now.
Do they believe that?
They do. Yeah.
Wow.
So what experience have you had with the supercharging network? Have you done it a few times? Have you gone on those longer trips where you've needed to use the supercharger to get back?
I have not. I've only used the supercharger once. It's right in front of a grocery store that we go to fairly regularly, and I didn't really need to charge it, but I thought, well, I
wanted to try it.
Yeah, I want to see it, and it was, it was just like it was a nothing. You pull up, and there's like nothing to do. You plug it in, and it knows who you are. It charges your account. It's kind of freaky in that way. It's it's just like, okay, we'll bill you for that, Tom. But yeah, it was, nothing to it.
Seamless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we are kind of running out of time here. Anybody have any last questions for Mr. Bodett?
Last question I would have is do you plan on taking your vehicle on those longer trips? Are you a road trip person? Or will you become a road trip person just because of the vehicle you have? I myself, I did a long trip from the Toronto, Ontario area all the way to Fremont, California and back in my Model 3 last October. And I'll tell you, Tom, it was spectacular. Not only did you get to see the country, but the vehicle, the charging was, like you said, seamless. And I would certainly encourage you to try maybe a couple of mid-sized trips. And if you like it, you'll probably go further.
I would like to. In fact, my oldest son lives out in Tacoma, Washington, and he's getting married in October. And we're talking about driving out rather than doing the COVID Express.
Right.
And I think the Tesla will get some miles on it. That would be like a 6,000 mile round trip, something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah.
Fun.
That'd be beautiful.
Well,
Georgia?
Thank you. Oh, Georgia, did you have?
Well, no, I was going to ask about other things, but I think we'll stick to the Tesla.
Well, let's do this again. This was great fun, and I'm glad to have learned about these shows too, because I'm gonna become a fan here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, fabulous.
Well, thank you for that, Tom, and we'll listen to you. Well, so generally we do some plugs here. Is there anything, Mr. Bodett, you would like to our viewers to know where they can find you or what they can?
Well, I'll be appearing on Wait this week. We do a Zoom, we do our just like we do this on Thursday. It'll air on Saturday. And my real passion in life at the moment is I founded a woodworking school and community workshop here in Brattleboro 2 years ago called the Hatch Space, hatchspace.org. If people want to go there and see what we're up to and help support us, we're a nonprofit, of course, struggling like everyone to get through this period when we can't have our classes and our people around. But we have a raffle. This is the last week for the raffle. You can win $10,000 worth of prizes for $50. So check it out. There's even a bench there that I made.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome. Georgia?
Well, I'm just going to say Tom Bodett says watch, like, and subscribe to the Tesla Life and to What Drives Us, and go to hatchschool.org because you want that bench.
You do. I want
Help
the bench.
them survive this COVID mess so that they can create beautiful woodworking crafts. And I'm throwing it back to you.
Mr. Coughlin?
Just wanted to let everyone know that if you like this content that we've put up on the Tesla Life and What Drives Us, please follow us on our Twitter feeds, which would be, of course, What Drives Us and the Tesla Life. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe if you haven't already, and that helps us out, gets us in front of more viewers. And we would really appreciate your interaction in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Tom, that URL, was it hatchspace.org?
Yeah, hatch space, all one word.
Space.org.
Yeah.
And if I win, will they ship the bench or do I have to come to Brattleboro to get it?
In on an electric car, yes.
Yeah. You're breaking my heart, man.
Yeah, we'll
I
ship
can pick it up for you, Russell, if you win.
It'll be like the Chesterfield. I'll never see it. I'll never see it. Okay, it'll be at your house forever, which is okay, but nonetheless. So, huge thanks to Mr. Tom Bodett. Again, you can find him on NPR this weekend on Wait, Don't Tell Me. Look for his books. All sorts of stuff. Search that name. It's Bodett if you didn't know. And of course, if you're traveling across the U.S., as I often do, Motel 6 is the place.
They
I'll
leave
give
the
him a
light
plug
on for you, right?
because
I've heard that somewhere.
yeah.
All right, listen, I gotta go play a wino here.
Our thanks to Mr. Tom Bodett.
Derek.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, go to hell. Go to hell.